Who exactly will benefit most from the provisions of the infrastructure bill? Yesterday, the Transportation Secretary touted the administration's trillion-dollar infrastructure package. When he was specifically asked about how the administration will deconstruct racism that's built into the nation's highways, here's what he said.
If a highway was built for the purpose of dividing a white and a black neighborhood, or if an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been in New York, was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality, and I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away.
The Reconnecting Communities program, the Secretary mentions, is part of a package that's supposed to specifically address racial inequities in the nation's highway designs. The Transportation Secretary didn't reveal many details. He said only that if highways needed to be moved or removed, that would be determined on a case-by-case basis. But as more and more black residents are being priced out of their neighborhoods in some major cities, will they ultimately reap the bulk of the benefits from these changes? We are also learning today that the Justice Department has opened an environmental justice investigation into whether Alabama's wastewater management program has been discriminating against a majority black county by not carrying out their responsibilities to reduce raw sewage conditions. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark linked what's happening in Alabama to decaying infrastructure nationwide that predominantly impacts poor and minority neighborhoods. How will the infrastructure bill deal with all of this? Joining me now is Associate Professor of Ohio State University, Hasan Kwame Jeffries. Professor Jeffries, the infrastructure package is a good step forward, but with that timeline over 10 years, black people continuing to move out of many of these big cities, out of neighborhoods like Harlem, whole cities like Chicago and Detroit, if you go in and make these changes, don't those benefits redound to the returning young, white, college-educated millennials who are doing the gentrifying? Does it really help the communities that were hurt by it in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. And unfortunately, the answer, if you're just looking backwards, is no. It won't help those communities that have been devastated by not just one or two poorly placed bridges or interstate connectors, but by the whole system. The entire Eisenhower interstate system was mapped out and designed to have the least impact, for example, on white communities, and to not just simply divide one community from another, but literally to displace entire African American communities. And that isn't just, and that's coast to coast. And so we've been dealing, just looking at the interstate system since the Secretary brought that up, I mean, we've been dealing with poor transportation, interstate highway transportation for half a century, and displacement going on since then. So if we just come in now and say, well, hey, let's do something about the bridges so that residents who are living in Harlem now, or whatever gentrified neighborhood, cool neighborhood is called now, can get to Jones Beach. Well, that's not serving the residents that were initially harmed by the planning. So I think, looking forward, it is essential. So this isn't just sort of a money dump right now. You do have to plan ahead, but we also have to look at, in that planning ahead, where are populations moving? Who's being displaced? Where are they going? And what can be planned to make sure that communities that will arise, as we know, black and brown communities now in these inner ring suburbs, as they're being moved out of inner cities, can't cost them anymore, or central cities can't afford them anymore. That what's the planning that they can still have access to cities and also to the accommodations outside of cities?
So from your reading of the bill, how much of that is addressed in it, if any of it is addressed at all? The future planning, kind of urban planning around transportation, hard physical structure that the government may be involved in building. How much of that future planning to make sure that what we do from here on does not do the same sort of discrimination that what we did in the 50s did?
Well, not enough from my reading of it. And what really worries me, Charles, is the mechanisms for the distribution of these infrastructure funds. So we're not just talking about sort of directed federal investment. Great sums of this money is going to be handed to states and say, okay, there's a problem with the water infrastructure, for example. Here, take care of it. Now, these block grants to state legislatures in Georgia, for example, here in Ohio, that are controlled by Republican administrations and that have been and don't seem to be turning anytime soon necessarily. Uh, these are administrations at the state level that have shown a blatant disregard for racial inequality and are willing to discriminate against people on the basis of race. And so I don't take much comfort even in the language of, hey, we're going to address past inequality and keep an eye on future inequality, when the mechanism for disbursement, the mechanism for deciding where so much of these funds are going to go, is being left up to local state governments that have a history, recent and remote, of discriminating against people of color.
One thing I think you point out there as well is that part of infrastructure is moving people around and building physical structure for people to live in. Another part of it is getting rid of all the waste that we create by living where we are and by moving around in the ways that we move around. And Black and brown communities are always disproportionately impacted by waste that we produce as a society. Do you see more of these environmental justice investigations like the one we're hearing about today in this majority Black Alabama county springing up out of this administration? And to what end? I mean, is there money to deal with this on a national level?
I hope there are more investigations, but because we know that this has been going on for quite a while, especially in a place like Lowndes County, Alabama, which is in the heart of the Alabama Black Belt. But all of these majority Black counties have been dumping grounds for toxic waste, for human waste, for wastewater and the like for decades. I mean, this isn't anything that's new. We just haven't been paying attention to it. And so if we just approach this on a case-by-case basis, I'm afraid that we will not address the systemic ways in which the dumping of the nation's waste into Black communities, into Black counties in the rural South, has become sort of customary. The only industry that will go to some of these counties is the waste industry, and so that, of course, is problematic. But we have to reimagine, Charles, how we deal again with these environmental issues and the general waste that we produce as a nation. And it is not enough to build incinerators in Black communities in urban spaces or make waste dumps in Black communities in rural spaces, because we've been doing it too long and we haven't addressed the problems that stem from them, such as the sewage seepage into well water and the like, as we're seeing in Lowndes County, Alabama. So I hope this is a step in a new direction where the Justice Department, where the federal government is going to say, just like Superfund investment that we've seen over the years, to say, look, we're going to deal with the dumping into Black communities and brown communities, because we're people too, and we shouldn't be doing this to any citizens.
So, I mean, let me ask one last question. I got like a minute left. Is this just a token? $1 billion being used for this. Just north of New York City, they were refurbishing and redoing the Tappan Zee Bridge. That redo of that bridge cost $4 billion alone. That's one bridge, right? And they didn't move the bridge 40 miles down the river in order to, to change which communities it was affecting. It was in the same area. $4 billion. This is $1 billion. Is it just a token measure to say that they are doing something on this issue when in fact there is not enough money to really do something with $1 billion?
Well, they're saying that it's a down payment, okay? And a down payment sounds a lot better than a token. But either way, it ain't enough. And so you're absolutely right there. In many of the sort of estimates that I've seen, depending upon what we're talking about, you're talking about maybe a quarter of what is needed to address the real infrastructure issues. So, we're talking about not just 1 billion, we need tens of billions, and we have the money for it. We just demonstrated that, in with these various COVID relief packages, and certainly with the tax cuts. Do we have the moral will, and do we have the political strength to do it? And I hope we do.
Hasan Kwame Jeffries, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate your insights.